We're just gonna go ahead and level up our Zoe, I guess. Which is not normally the game plan for this deck, but... In yesterday's video, I was showing you how to make your deck names fancy, change the colors, add the icons, and I had mentioned that I haven't done a video on my updated Lulusives list, and tomorrow is the event. So we're going to be doing Viego stuff, and we're going to be doing action stuff, and while I'm really looking forward to that, I felt like today was a great time to share my updated list. So if you're new, consider subscribing, make sure you hit the like button because it's free and it really helps me out. Deck codes, I put them in my video description along with a link to Mobilytics so that you can click on that if you're on mobile, because I know that it's hard to copy and paste when you're on mobile. Also, if you just care about the gameplay and you don't want to hear about the deck, you can use time tags to jump ahead in the video because there's going to be some games after I talk about the deck. But right now, going to very quickly go through this deck list because I've already got a video on this deck. This is mostly regarding the updates, and then I'm going to highlight important pieces in case you didn't see that first video. So right out of the gate, we've got 1-drops, Flower Child scales, but because it doesn't have elusive, we are not rocking the full set. And then we have the Flight and then Zoe. The important piece to know about Zoe is that she's not the focal point of the deck, but your opponents very rarely realize that, so she's bait. You might get like 1 or 2 attacks out of her. It's just extra value. Really, she's there to eat removal, and she will. People will target her over something like a Shade Stalker, even though the Shade Stalker is technically more important to your deck because it attacks for more and that's all you care about. So Zoe is bait. You might accidentally level her up at times. In those cases, it's kind of nice to give your non-elusive units elusive, and if you land a Sparklefly, it can be game winning. But again, don't overprotect your Zoe. Just let your opponent do the work for you. All right, 2-drops. These are all pretty standard. Duo, Shade Stalker, Sparklefly is your best anti-aggro tool, specifically because, again, your premise here is that they can't block you. You can choose whether or not you want to block them, and so that's how you win those races, but Lifesteal puts you over the top. Twin Disciplines. Twin Disciplines now costs 2, which is amazing after the balance patch. It's been in a lot of lists, but it does a lot of work here because you can use it offensively, or you can protect some key units. Young Witch, we were already running it anyway, so the buff is just a very nice to have for us. Lulu. We are running Lulu because it makes something have a 4/4 body, and so when you've got things like Flower Child, that becomes a 6/4, but even just making Zoe here become a 4/4, that can frustrate your opponent. It's really good with Sparklefly if you don't have other buffs. Obviously, that helps you win races, so on and so forth. If you level her up, the additional value that you get from picks is also really nice. And then if you've already got her in the board and you draw a second Lulu, sometimes Whimsy can get you a lot of value as well. We're also running Mentor of the Stones because this gives your elusive units permanent buffs, and then the gems are also great in that manner as well. Shadow Assassin draws elusive, etc., etc. Defensively, we're running 2 of the recently unnerfed Will of Ionias along with 2 denies. This is just kind of a meta call. You can mix and match these numbers as much as you want. So if you want like 3 Will, 1 deny, that's fine. And then 1 Mountain Sojourners. This was again also buffed recently in the patch, and this is nice as like a top end to what I call the support chain. Whereas if you've got a Sojourner and then like it's buffing a Mentor and that's buffing Lulu and Lulu's buffing a Young Witch and so on and so forth, like you can get a lot of value out of this potentially. The now 4 attack is very relevant as well, but because it's so expensive and we are very much a go wide, go aggro deck, I'm only running 1, and it is a bit more situational in its buffs because it requires you specifically to have a bunch of support units out there. Whereas Hatchling here, which is your finisher, is just a nice board-wide buff, and this is your closer, your finisher, and so that's where we are running it, in the closing spot. That's it for the deck, so we're gonna go play some games with it now so that I can show you how it works and hopefully have a good time along the way. Well, this is a bit of a blast from the past, though I will say I fully expect Azir and Irelia to become very popular here in the near future, because tomorrow we're getting another Irelia skin that actually has a level up animation as well. And as weird as it sounds, I think we're gonna keep this. We're in a position where we've got an early Sparklefly and we have Young Witch and Sojourners, and so if we can just not die and get that online, we might be fine. Now, we do have to worry about things like homecoming, but we're in an okay-ish position. Treasure Seeker is not something I was expecting to see. I don't necessarily hate it, but I was not expecting to see that as the answer. So they are just gonna go straight with the Walking Sands, huh? So we can either, what, take 7. Or we could consider blocking with the flight and then doing nothing else. We're only considering taking 7 because we can still gain 2 back next round with the development of our young witch. And so I think that's the way that I want to go. I think I'm okay with just taking the 7 here. We're being very risky. That's a lot of damage against a deck like this. We're also now faced with the decision about whether you want to go with Shade Stalker or the Witch. The obvious bonus, or the obvious positive here, is that Young Witch means more damage from Sparklefly. Whereas this is just the, you know, kind of bigger, better unit. And with more health so that we can block some of these blades next round. Which is also pretty relevant. We're going to go with the Young Witch because next round at 4 mana, we might end up being forced to play this Will of Ionia. And we want Young Witch on the board for round 5 when Sojourners comes down so that we can chain things together. We're going to keep that in mind. We can also still develop the Shade Stalker this next round if we really want to with something like Star Chart, but we're long-term planning here. Oh, we're kind of hoping that this is a survivable round, because if we could develop Mentor into Sojourners, that would be massive. We might play this wrong and just take that chance anyway. We're just gonna go block. Serpent.
Step like
the desert by my side.
We're gonna wait and see what they do with their attack first. This takes us down to 8. Sure. We're taking some chances here.
I see purple.
We're taking some chances, but that's because I really want to choo-choo this train all the way down. So now's where you pray that they just don't have the answer. Because this is just really funny to me. We're going to try to set this up for a very big Sparklefly turn, but again, it's going to depend on what they have for responses.
Are they still here?
We're likely going to order our supports a bit weird, just because we want this to get the +4/+4. Oh. They're actually running that. Okay. Bravo. I respect it. We're just going to then change up our game plan. We're still attacking, but we're gonna try to eat Irelia then. Since they want to be a party pooper, how dare they? This will just get us some health back. And then we're going to play this round, I think, relatively conservative. I don't know if we're going to have the Will of Ionia available. We're likely better off just going for blocks. It's a shame they got rid of my mentor because the Sojourner train is going to be less impressive.
Invisible to the ignorant. Show them no weakness.
All right, so there is the Irelia. Getting pretty close to leveling. I think we do this and then we save for a discipline. Knowing that they're so low on mana means we can get a lot of mileage out of this Sparklefly. Because like this just again nuts us health. Right now they're trying to brute force through us and we're fine with that. We're gonna block with this. They're gonna try to move. Oh, I thought they would swing with everything. And then try to move their Irelia over to this. But now we can just take it. We're not even required. We're not even required to block this, though we could still. They have no mana after all. We're just gonna go ahead and level up our Zoe, I guess. Which is not normally the game plan for this deck, but... we'll take it, I guess. Okay. So we didn't get to run the train, but that's still a great showing for the deck. Let's go play another. Oh, wow. It's been a while since I've seen frozen food. We're gonna throw this flight back because ideally we'd like to find a young witch for this. We're still pretty good with having 2 support units there as well, but we're gonna throw the flight back. We're, I guess, gonna also lead with Zoe since we top decked her over Flower Child. Both are gonna get the exact same amount of damage in, but Zoe is more likely to eat removal at some point. Gonna go duo here. Into Lulu. You do Lulu over Mentor in this instance just because of the board state. If you play the Mentor, you're just sacrificing it into the 2-3. Here, they have to do something. They're actually doing nothing, but they have to do something there if they want to get value out of it, if that makes sense. So instead, they're just gonna play the Rhyme Fang because they are looking to Frostbite a unit and take the trade. We do have this star chart, so if they don't take the open attack, we might be able to find ourselves a Crescent Strike and just shut this down. Well, maybe not.
How can someone be so
We wait. So here's the deal. If they take this, we just let it through. And all right, so we let Zoe through. As I said before, Zoe usually just really good at eating removal. People see her and they panic. Not necessarily what the deck is based around, so that works out well for us. Instead, we're gonna go with the Flower Child into the Mentor, because this allows us to do a lot of really neat things here. We're gonna have to take the open attack though, because we don't have any way to stop the acquired taste. But the way that we want to do this, well, the way we want to do this is actually rather interesting, because we want to jam as much elusive damage as possible, and yet we can't do that if we're also trying to buff the child. So in this respect, I think you do it this way. Instead of worrying about trying to save the Mentor, because you could have Lulu protect the Mentor, we're gonna be more threatening going this route though. I think this is the important way to do the open attack. We're pushing enough that with this at 6 means they can also safely block with Mr. Froggo. We might be able to eat the doggo, but definitely not the Froggo. Now I say might because this strike does not just trigger when challenging, so if a frostbite effect comes down like so, we do actually still lose the Lulu here, which is unfortunate, but not something that we have the ability to dodge at the moment. And we're gonna go like this. And we're gonna go like this. So that we can keep the draws going.
Where there's a will, there's a meal.
We're just trying to keep our board as populated as possible so that we can go into a hatchling this next round. Rather unfortunate open attack for us, but not unexpected. We're gonna take this. We'll take this for later, I guess.
Unseen, unheard.
We know that they're gonna take this acquired taste, and so we're just again going as wide as we can so that we can go into a hatchling and swing.
You had your chance to walk away.
The Yordle here's with me.
We're not shocked by that.
Stop eating or no more walkies.
Appetizers of plenty.
There's our hatchling play. We're gonna expect potentially some sort of frostbite into an acquired taste, but even if they do that here, we still have more than enough elusive to get through, so they'll have to have multiple frostbite effects to survive this round, which is likely. We've not really seen many from our opponent, especially the cheaper ones. But nonetheless, we are generating the kind of pressure we would like to be generating here. We're hoping that that play was enough to break their spirit and their will, and that they can just concede, but, well, was not the case. I think we send everybody. We're looking at this blocking here. for a value trade. Probably this blocking here.
Let's talk about your tab.
We're gonna get 8 in though. It could just go down to 1. They really want to keep the wolf, but they're gonna need a lot more healing if that's their path, and it is. Well, okay. If they don't take the open attack, Crescent Strike does a lot of work for us, and if they do take the open attack, we do have the will. So we should be able to, now we have double will. We should be able to protect ourselves from the wolf pretty well here. We might get lucky and they could even pre-burn a frostbite effect if they're trying to keep this wolf alive, which would open up will as potentially being a 2-for-1 for us in terms of value. The value. And that's it. We broke their will and their nexus. So hopefully you enjoy the list. If you made it this far, as always, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands.